KKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
Wow, Halloween's coming early. This is Jason here at the Neutral Zone. Hello, everyone. Today is October 9th, 2023. Brother Tony Midnight is already in the spooky horror mood, and he has very beautifully taken care and made us all really aware of the season we're in. Thank you, Brother Tony. I had a guest today that was coming, but there is a gathering, Hawaiian gathering and celebration in West Maui that's coming up the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And my guest didn't want to take this time because she was too focused on that right now. So I said, I have a fantastic idea. I'm going to take my audience. Hello, audience. You're from around the country and around the world and here around Maui. If you go to MauiNeutralZone.com and you'll look at this show again as a repeat in a day or two, you'll see some of the visuals because I'm going to be honoring my friend who just died, just passed away, Saturday, September 30th at 9:15. And that's Dr. Ed Jor-El ELKIN. Many people know Ed Elkin. He's been on Maui for, 30-something years. And we're going to talk about him. That's why I say this is going to be a different show. This book that those of you watching from the TV see this huge thing that's like overstuffed. When Dr. Elkin's stuff was there at Kula Hospital, I went to pick it up. And this is in there. Tons of photos. His daughter will be coming. And she sent a memorial, the words and things, and put it on a mortuary thing here at Norman's Mortuary. And something was written up at Unity Church. I'll share those. And they share about he was a doctor of psychology, and he was there with Ram Dass and Timothy Leary, and the exploration of LSD. And when I went to, that he also was there with a good friend of his, JohnLilly, the dolphin researcher, looking at intelligence through the dolphins. And he has just been ahead of his time in there. But, he was 87 when he died, and he had a very full and active life. And when he was on Maui, most people on Maui that know him as Jor-El, well, he'll tell you what that means, because I did a little bit of an interview up there. We had interviewed him years ago, a couple of times on the show, once in 2004, and once even before that as a solo interview. And some of that stuff is actually still up on the web. And then I was doing it here. We thought we might, be able to do it a full show time, but then COVID happened, and now he's died. But quite a guy, and had a very full life. We have so many people that we know here on Maui that get old and get dementia or Alzheimer's or God knows what. And or even someone like me, but these guys that are old, that nobody really knows them except as they see them now. Dr. Elkin lost a couple of toes and couldn't walk and couldn't take care of himself, so he found himself up at Kula Hospital, living there for more than a decade. And it got to be very routine, kind of, that he was up there. But it's kind of far away and kind of isolating, but I was the person of authority. That means something was going on. I was the one to they'd ask questions with. And I consulted with a doctor friend. And his daughter was on the mainland and really didn't have too much to do with it while he was here all this time. So I would hear from them from time to time. But when I went and picked up the stuff there was this book with unbelievable amount of stuff. We're going to go through some of it and point out another side of Dr. Elkin and how he expanded from psychology and what he was doing years ago, which was credible in itself, by itself. Not that I'm a judge of what's credible and what isn't. But then he took it that extra distance and step, a creative adventure in theater involving psychology. And so the conscious evolution adventure, which we'll talk about. And, he was quite a guy. And a lot of people here knew him. And as the years went on, he got more and more, it seemed, eccentric and got a little dementia. That's how he ended up having issues that got him up toward in Kula Hospital. But he was quite a guy. And he's what I call a synergist. He introduced me to so many people because he heard what I was trying to do, and he hears and he puts things together. He may not be in them, but he understands how things go together. And a very integrated guy. And I just wanted to honor him with a show. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to kind of catch my breath and put on an audio that's a video, and I'm going to play some of him and me up at Kula Hospital a couple of times. The first one is just a little bit. He does a recitation of a poem that he wrote, and he'll tell you about it. And the second one is a longer piece, about 22 minutes, where we have a further discussion. These are in like 2019 and the beginning of 2022. So things, he was still pretty together. You'd say, this guy has dementia, he seems pretty sharp. And things at the end got a little bit slower. You'll see a little of that. And then I'll show you some other stuff. So let me get ready here and bring it up. I'm going to go to my video. So if you're watching TV, so just realize we're at the neutral zone. This is KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. We speak about everything, and we're in neutral zone. That doesn't mean we don't have opinions. In fact, we're anything but neutral. But I don't carry a hammer. I don't carry a hammer or a sword. I'm here to be receptive and try to... Someone calling while we're on the show. I love that. There we go. We'll get rid of him. And put it on airplane mode. Enable. There we go. So, back to where we were. Let me get those videos up. Here comes the first one. Now, this should play right through and you'll be listening. This is Dr. Elkin. Is it working? Is it starting? Should be. I'm hitting the go button. Isn't that funny? I always wonder, when you're playing with devices, you never know when you plug a doohickey in. Here, I'm going to unplug it. Let's see if it'll work now. I wonder. Not working now. Oh, it's in airplane mode. Oh, that was because that guy called. How crazy. I'm going to be back. Isn't this nice? See, this isn't NBC, or we would, they'd be saying, what are you doing? This is major deal. Is it still not working? That's just oddball. Anyway, so we're not going to do that. That's very funny. I'm going to see, if I was going to go here and play a clip, I could play a clip, right? Here we go. Here, I'm going to plug in and see.
The video?
Now that one's working.
Eggs in the shell, or eggs at mind's door. The egg.
That's working. The other clip didn't work.
fertility.
You guys stop. I'm going to try the other one first and see if we can get it. No, the other one has. That's very funny. It just. But this here now it should be working.
Extraordinary eggs of despair and of hope. But extraordinary eggs is numero uno. Eggs, Maui noted, were mine to explore. Eggs in the shell, or eggs at mind's door. The egg, a symbol for me of fertility, beginnings, new hope, an end to sterility. Exactly, I thought, with a yolk on my mind. What an experience. Blind leading blind. No egg on my face, I shouted out loud. All eggs in this basket. And I'm even proud to extract the answer from inside my shell, expertly extending what's hidden so well. I'm me, crows the chick with its head poking through. Come out, all you others. It's safe to be you.
So that was Dr. Elkin, Jor-El, doing his performance of Eggs, Extraordinary Eggs. He had a whole theme going on, which we're going to jump into here, but he'll explain some of it in this next passage, I hope. Anyway, I'm glad we got the video to be working. Now, here we are. He has a COVID mask on.
Eggs, Maui noted, were mine to explore. Eggs in the shell, or eggs at mine's door. The egg, a symbol for me of fertility, beginnings, new hope, an end to sterility. Exactly, I thought, with a yolk on my mind. What an experience, blind leading blind. No egg on my face, I shouted out loud. All eggs in this basket, and I'm even proud to extract the answer from inside my shell, expertly extending what's hidden so well. Me, crows the chick with its head poking through. Come out, all you others. It's safe to be you.
Wow. Dr. Ed Elkin. Jor-El. How did that name Jor-El come to you, my friend?
I'm not sure.
Wow.
Jor is descended from, like Jordan is descended from the land of Dan. And El is Elohim. So Jor-El is descended from God.
Beautiful. You know who I just did an interview with?
No.
An old friend of ours. You remember Jim Loomis?
Yes?
Jim Loomis and I just did an interview. We went out to his land there in Walo, went down to King's Pool, and I had to walk him down because he's now 86, and it was a very fragile walk. How old are you these days?
81.
81. Well, you were a very eloquent 81. What if I told you what year were you born?
36.
36. So let's do a little math, you and I. Start at 40 to 60 to 2000. That's 60, and 20. That's 80. So 2 more and 4. You're probably 86 too. You know that?
I didn't think so.
19.
From 1936 to what is it now?
22.
2022.
So that you're 86 years old.
Oh.
Coming up here, right in June, May 6th. May 6th. 86. See that? So Jim Loomis and I had a conversation, and we were talking about when he was teaching with Buckminster Fuller. You also had experience with Bucky Fuller,
yes.
Didn't you? Where was that?
Don't remember.
Okay, well, I remember Peter Rosen told me you guys were in New York at an expo, and you did an interview that he videotaped of you interviewing Bucky.
Peter videotaped?
I thought so. And maybe I'm off on that piece, but he said you were doing interviews of different people. Jim Loomis actually taught with him. He went to a think tank with Robert Oppenheimer, and thing about artificial intelligence. You know, you have stories about your times with the dolphins and and studying LSD, and your time
Yes.
with JohnLilly, time with Ram Dass, and Timothy Leary, right? You're
All that.
all of that and more. And you have the autistic side. You've been a real champion for a conscious. You called it something that I like a communications consultant. What do you call it? The type of work you do where you get people together. A synergist, a consulting synergist.
Consulting synergist. Right.
Which basically means you're aware and you put pieces together that others find to be of value. You did that with me.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you called me and said, Jason, I think we found it all. I've met this guy. He's at where were we? At the Kailani, was it? Or Grand Wailea? I think it was a Grand Wailea. His name is Yanni. Remember Yanni?
Yes.
I thought he was going to be playing piano, but he didn't. He was really interesting, wasn't he?
Sure.
Well, he actually gave me money into the foundation. It was one of those times where someone felt inspired. And then Mercury, remember Mercury was his friend who basically financed the whole deal, who was a great keyboard player. He passed a little while after
Really?
that. Yeah. Had a heart issue. But met some really interesting people. You're interesting people. I hope you'll consider doing an interview with me. We do it on Zoom.
Of course.
And we can do this poem and others. We can talk about different stuff of your life. I bet there's stuff that you remember that you'd like to share.
Did I share the stuff about my daughter?
No, please, tell me.
A laughing burst of sunlight, a shining glimmer of silk. Her love reflects the one light purely, fresh as mother's milk. Deborah, Ariana, is more than just her name. She's life and truth and hope itself, God's gift, my daughter's flame.
That's beautiful. And now I haven't seen her in a few years, but beautiful lady now. She's a full-grown adult.
What?
She's an adult.
Yeah, what is the word you say you use?
I said adult.
What does that mean?
That's an adult with using the A instead of adult or adult. I said adult. Just having fun. It's amazing here. I'm sitting here. One wouldn't know that we are at the entrance to a beautiful location up here in Kula. Isn't this beautiful? Oprah lives right next door, down below. She got her own tower and television deal and the whole deal. But this is Kula, Maui. You got a good view, my friend.
Yeah.
And your room is up top here.
Yes.
Well, I'm really glad that you took the time to sit with me and our audience of loving friends who I know so much appreciate being here. Anyone you want to say hi to? I bet you do. Come on.
Susan Douglas, of course.
Susan Douglas. Yeah. And I'm sure you had good help and love from Dr. Joe Cohn and Ron Fogel.
What happened to the men's group? Is that still happening?
Mankind Project is still functioning. They've been, the last one they did was March of 2020, and there's talk about it, but it has to be scheduled out sometime later this year here in Maui. But they're beginning to do them. I think they started a couple in South Carolina already.
How come South Carolina?
You know, whatever and whoever is deciding, and someone puts in, and they made their decision. So, coming up, you know, these individual groups are, tied together only by concepts. They're, nothing really is. And, someone will tell me I'm wrong, that there's a national organization, blah, blah.
What was that South Carolina?
These New Warrior Training Adventure opening weekends
Okay.
take scheduling. They're not just lightly taken. So to do them again takes a little lead time and agreements and safe and everything. So however the decisions are made, the chapters down there made their decisions and got a green light. Must have, gone through quite a bunch of processes. Well, here in Maui, we were very fortunate. I think we were like one of, if not the last, New Warrior training adventure back on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2020. And then, boom, it was like there was the thing going on with COVID. So now they're starting to have groups back together live. And people are still beautiful, come with high hopes and concepts of what they'd like their lives to be. And just a general common good feeling. Well, you were instrumental in all of that stuff. When I think about a Mankind project, I think about what else was there before that. Was like Est, and those guys too, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Werner Erhard. And you even go back further, like I know there was a book Ron Fogel talked about where you guys would sit around.
Ron came with you last time, didn't he?
John did.
Ron Fogel.
Ron on a different occasion. Yeah, the times sort of run together, but he was here one time. Just again, these early morning times aren't good for some of these older people. But not us. Anyway, I know the wealth of experience that you've had. You've shared some with me. We had an interview way back when with Shivani Goodman.
Oh, yeah.
That was years ago. People can find that up on the website, MauiArtsAndMusic.org. That I'm really so
That's
thankful.
Mama.
What?
Mama.
Right. Maui Arts and Music Association. Art, music, and culture and all this stuff to educate people about environmental solutions and educate people about Hawaiian culture and all the beautiful people in our world, and how we can work together. That's why when I hear you say consulting synergist, it just grabs me. That's a title I like to take. And it's sometimes difficult for me to not be involved but be involved. But consulting synergist is the right word. Putting things together. We're not the thing, we are putting them together. So that's the skill by itself, Thank you for taking these few minutes here with me and the
pleasure.
group. Any other things you'd like to say before we sign off, you think?
No, just aloha, happy New Year.
And
what? Happy Jewish New Year. Anyway.
oh yeah, for sure. That well. And also the other one. This is now like March 22nd of 2022.
Okay.
Can you imagine that we were in 1960s? Talking about 2022. I remember 1984 was the future, and Animal Farm, and Brave New World. What was going to happen? I expected spaceships to be like here already. But I think they probably are. They're just not telling me yet. I don't know. What do you think is the most interesting thing going on in your world today?
Your business.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear that. That's good. Well, I'm very happy to do that, people. And I think it's great that we're doing a Zoom call Thursday.
What is that?
Zoom is where you can see sound and visual, and you do it with the computer, so you can be here and I can be down in town, or we can be anywhere in the world. So you can do a show and I can record it and create a TV show. That means that all the people here have access, and outside people have access to you guys way easier than might otherwise. So you can stay in touch. I love getting calls from you. I'm really always appreciating that you are still here and still vital.
Oh, yeah.
And even though up at Kula Hospital, people think that's a long way. What a beautiful, long way. It's not long at all. It's beautiful. I used to live on the next hill, the
really?
next hill over, on Cross Road, going up to Middle Road here in Kula. In, oh boy, 1991, when I formed the Maui Arts and Music Association. I was up here. I was here. And my neighbor was C.T. Ryder. You remember that guy?
No.
Corey Ryder, who started, he did a nonprofit. He was a camera guy from Colorado and New York, and he created, the now Mexican television, Spanish speaking. That was him. So, here we are older, and we say, oh, that was my friend. He did this. I got a friend who's a big producer. I haven't seen him in 100 years already. But one of the big producers in Hollywood, Chuck Lorre. He used to be a great songwriter. He was a nice guy. Haven't seen him since, 1978.
Are we older and are we any wiser?
We're younger then than now. I think we are. You know who?
We like to think so.
Well, I'd like to think so, but I also think that's why I'm running for council this time.
Oh, yes.
Because it's like a capstone. How can we talk about all this stuff and then not have a seat at the table? I've watched these guys all these years. I've interviewed them, the women, all of them, and they're missing that fresh ideas. I felt sort of like Rodney Dangerfield, get no respect here. Do you remember there was a guy named Pundi Yokouchi? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
You remember the Maui Arts and Cultural Center?
Yeah.
It was his inspiration. His wife had died, and he wanted to honor her and have a place for the arts. So he helped raise money and to start the Maui Community Arts and Cultural Center. Cost, I forgot the number, but they raised it through going around and talking to people and having parties and asking them for money. And the first New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I had booked the whole place for a major event to announce my mama thing. And Pundi called me. I never met him before. I gave that date away to First Light, who had already kind of poisoned the environment. Can you imagine people went out talking to hotels and stuff? They didn't have it booked, but they were telling them they had the cultural center booked. And when I went out, I'm someone the island didn't know. They thought I was somehow phony, and this other thing was real. It was really a stupid thing. Mayor Lingle told them it was a good idea. It was a non-alcoholic event. Anyway, here we are now. God did this. Now is the time. Now is the right place. It's the time. You've been talking, a lot of people talking about my ideas and me doing it and leading all of us to doing it.
Be here now.
Here now is good, right? Ram Dass. I went over to his house.
Is he still alive?
No, he passed away this last year.
Really?
Yeah. I remember you guys, Ron always tells me the stories from way back when you guys sitting around doing Ken Kai's, remember all those days?
Yes, of course.
Now there's another, what's the name of his book? I forgot, it was like a number of things I forgot. Ken Kai's, Steps, I forgot the name of his book. That was very famous. So Timothy Leary and Ken Kai's and Ram Dass and all these guys, you were right there. Do you know that I remember my college freshman year, Biology 111, and I took out this thing with a thick bunch of studies about LSD. That was my college experience.
Really?
Yeah. And there were papers there, and your name was on them. I was like, wait, I'm getting to meet Dr. Ed Elkin? You were out there at the pioneering days of all the experimental things with the government and private. God, what the things that you don't share fill volumes. And I think everyone says, and we're happy about it. Don't you be sharing. But LSD, I still know people that take it regularly that are in their 60s and 70s. You know
Is it
that?
available?
What?
Is it available?
Well, this is on the mainland. So in this time of dispensaries, I'm sure a lot of different things are much more available than were before, you know.
Can you get any?
Well, that we'll check into. We'll see. But I do know that what did you find most exciting when you talk about LSD? Do you remember?
I remember that my hearing improved.
Oh, good. That's a good thing. Did you go for extended?
No, just
experience?
that because I was with the American Institutes for Research,
Right.
and we had a series of tests and performance tests, and we wanted to see whether LSD would be an incapacitating agent that could be used as a weapon.
Right.
And so that was when I found out about it, and then I said, well, I want to experience it myself. So we did, and went through the performance tests
Right.
to see whether, but the whole thing was whether you could cooperate or not. Because sometimes somebody was asking you to do something, and you didn't do it, but not because you couldn't do it, because you just
You were willful, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I hope you'll do some more. We're going to end our visit here in a minute.
Yes.
I am very appreciative to have had this little bit of time with you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for your poetry. Thank you for your friendship all these years.
Of course.
And for all the fun and wisdom and all the synergy you've had in introducing me to many people on this island. I would say early in my days on Maui, I don't know how it is exactly we met early on, but I do know that you've been a very integral part of my life and very contributory to being, thank you, to being brought in and given a chance as a refugee from Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But now I'm here so many years, I feel like my feet are here. Since 1988, that's more than half of my life, or just about exactly half of my life here on Maui. You've been here a while too, huh?
Yes.
Well, thank you for visiting with me.
Pleasure to come out here and share this wonderful grounds and space.
And you. People can set this up through the activities people in here at Kula Hospital.
Yeah.
And they just call and ask for Ed Elkin, or they ask for the activities.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Well, good.
Mahalo.
Have a beautiful day.
Namaste.
It's interesting to me when I look at that March of 2022. So a little more than a year and a half ago, he was still fully there. But things just sort of went rapidly downhill. The people there that I've seen that work there, very caring, very giving. It's a very tough situation as people get old and get isolated. I came up to visit once a month, maybe once every 2 months. A long time, between visits. And yet, when I'd come up, I was one of the rare people that came up to visit. The visits that people give up to the people in Kula Hospital, it would be nice if we had a more aggressive program of people that would go up there to people they know and people they don't know. I was amazed when I was there. I saw people I did know. I saw a few people that I knew outside, and I didn't invade their world while up there, but they saw and acknowledged me. But things slow down. You know, as we get older in life, there is just so many changes that you really don't think about when you're young. This last weekend, I went to a 4.5-hour seminar put at the adult daycare center in Kahului. I guess it was a Hale Kuiki group from Oahu came over and talking about dementia and caregiving, and showing the different kinds of dementia, showing what Alzheimer's is. There's only one kind of dementia. Alzheimer's is the one where you forget who people are around you and such. But that was really very well done. And I thought, you know, many, many more people are going to need to be learning this. Somehow we need to get these programs that they're doing more available and do video. They didn't have anyone videoing, by the way. That was a really good program, and they gave slides and things to share with people the difference between regular aging and dementia aging, and what are the different stages of it. And they used they call it GEMS, a color wheel with different semi and precious stones to talk about levels of where you're going as you're getting worse and worse with dementia. It was a very good program. Well, you know, when you go up to Kula Hospital, you see a lot of people that are in their own little worlds, you see. But when you speak to them and spend a little time, some of them are still there. And so you start to get a real gray feeling. You don't know if it's dementia or whether it's Alzheimer's, because with having so very little contact with the outside world, you know, they're very, very much in need of people to stay in touch. And as more of us are getting older longer, here we are keeping everybody alive longer, keeping everyone alive longer, and with all kinds of ways, and we have nowhere to put them, nowhere to house them, nowhere to help them. It is a strange combination of what we're ending up with by the choices we've made, both as a society and many of us as individuals. You know, we kind of, I had rose-colored glasses. You know, I didn't have any kids, and so I really didn't think about tomorrow quite the same way, and didn't think about saving for a rainy day, because I was employing what I do, which is conscious of everyone else and helping everyone else as I was going. And then finding that, wait, that was what they call walking off a cliff, because others don't often do that. We see it now, you know, and people give. But they, many times, with this wildfire, I think we saw many people coming out of their shells and helping way out of their normal comfort zone, way out of their normal comfort zone. You know, this wildfire or whatever caused it fire. You know, I mean, I heard this morning again, someone said to me, you should check with my son. There are 1,000 kids, 2,000 kids that still aren't accounted for in the school system. I don't know how we're going to get to find out about all that stuff, and who's going to give us some kind of way of checking to see what really is the truth and what wasn't. I know it's going to be a funny and odd, long process to rebuild, and that whole thing. Anyway, but when I speak about the wildfire, I had another event happened this weekend where I live. I live in a senior center in Kahului. And as I went out in the morning, I was going to go to church on Sunday. I smelled something odd. I didn't know what it was. And so I didn't know what it was. I walked down the way to the guy that's the monitor for the whole building, and I mentioned it to him, and I walked him back toward the elevator. I'm on the second floor, and he smelled it. He said, I think it's coming from that apartment. So I went on my way, and he did his thing. Doing his thing means he called the manager of the complex and did whatever. And then afterwards, I saw what was on in the apartment. And I opened up the pot there, and there was what looked like, I'm sure, like a major fire. Just bones, total black, literally like a major fire. And I was throwing away this thing, and I realized, here's a guy that lives next to me that can't cook his own food. He can't stand for very long. And so he started cooking on the floor in the kitchen. And then he has medication he takes by himself. And he got overdosed on his own medication. And then I went in one time and his stove was on, and I turned it off. I said, "What's going on here?" But he had caregiving. They gave him so many hours a day, 4 days a week, but it really wasn't enough. And he wanted to get housing somewhere else where they take care of him, but no one moved in that direction because there is none available. It sure seems like there's not enough available, a lot of things. But here we are on Sunday. Had that continued, and got into a fire in a senior center of 100 people and all the community. So I say to the caregiving agencies, I say that with love, but I hope you'll be more aware that when you have people that are needing help, at some point you need to get them out of those facilities, because you're creating even a bigger problem by not getting out of those facilities. You have to push and press, even if it's called temporary housing, to create solutions that aren't going to put community at risk, just like they cut back all the dead wood and the things in the fields around housing so that it prevents a future fire. Well, this is you, the caregiver, people, the responsible for people, to be able to get them the help they need. That's something not to shortchange someone on, or we're going to have even worse problems as our whole society is getting older. Anyway, I have one more piece. Jor-El's going to tell you what he'd like to give to the world, what he'd like to say. It's really funny. I'm looking through this book of his, this huge book. Isn't his photo book? It's a book of things that were important to him and things he did. And here's one, School of Tantra. He did a chakra tantric gestalt adventure with a Dr. Sasha Lesson. And here we are. Boy, he's at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center doing a project. Lysistrata and Gateway to Conscious Evolution with Dr. Barbara Marks Hubbard. There's more names of people we know. See, he's been around a long time doing things that have been on the cutting edge of people's consciousness. The Conscious Evolution Adventure Training 2004 in Honolulu. Yeah. Reenact the evolution of your own life and its origins. Yeah. And I'm going to go some more. I see all these pictures in here. This book is something else. It's like over the top huge. I'm just going to go through it. Because, in the things that were put together for the mortuary and for the church, they speak about things that, like I did, more conventional things. But if you were to speak to Jor-El, you heard he likes to talk, he likes the poem about his daughter, his conscious evolution adventure. That is really where his heart is. He was Herr Schultz in Cabaret, and I saw a thing of the Kitty Awards, which are theater awards here in Maui, in 1992. I see all kinds of names we all know now. Can you imagine that Amy Gilliam was around then? How could she be? She's only 23 now. No, I'm fooling. It's amazing to me that, we have a lot of great people here on Maui. Here's a picture of Dr. Elkin and Peter Rosen of various media in 1983, I think it is, a major event in Los Angeles. And what's this? celebrate a new year in Oahu, a Mauna Loa Hotel in Hilo. Dr. Elkin doing his conscious evolution adventure. And here's the Community Kitty Awards. Here's a letter. Talk about a long time ago. In 1993, a letter from Francie von Temsky. I guess the people in the theater around here know who Francie von Temsky is. To our friend. He was in the Fantastics. Remember the play? The musical, The Fantastics? There's so much stuff that I just keep going, and pages and pages and pages. Did I say pages? Of things that we hear about. You've heard it so many times. We are not just the day we are born and the day we die. We're all that stuff between those two dots. We are the stuff between. And Ed Elkin was a lot of stuff between his two dots. And he has impacted and affected lots of lives. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I watch now. I'm not in charge of his celebration. His daughter is putting it together, whatever is happening with it. But numbers of people are contacting me, and I'm seeing there from literally all over the world, people from a lot of theater kind of people, and people that just appreciated a very loving soul, who always contributed to make things better everywhere he went. I remember at Unity Church, he was a chaplain at Unity Church here in Maui, and he was also Jewish, grew up. Edwin Elkin got his bar mitzvah and the whole traditional Jewish thing. I remember taking him one year to Rabbi Sholem Schusterman's house for a celebration after he was up in Kula Hospital. So, it sort of we became even closer friends after he was ill and needed someone to kind of check in on him. And it was a good experience. It was a worthwhile experience. And, I don't have people around me. I don't have a regular nuclear family. So people getting old in my household hasn't been, hasn't been something I've had experience with. So thank you, Ed Elkin, for giving me up close and personal with the later in life experience and what happens to all of us, Well, we are quite a week. This has been quite a week. If you were to look at the news this week, you'd say, is it possible that the war between the Palestinians and the Israelis could reignite bigger than ever? Well, I guess 1948 and the fight for Israel was pretty big, but this one is pretty big. And Gaza is really totally surrounded. God knows what's going to happen out of this. I'm just in total shock, as most people in the world are, that so much fighting goes on, so much fighting, because there's this illusion that we don't have enough resources. It's just, I guess that you say some people want to identify it as a socialist, but I think we need to do more social programs to get more resources into everyone's hands, like a basic something that makes it possible for people to live, that they don't have to run 24/7 working 2 and 3 jobs just to be able to have a place to live and survive. Or here in Maui, we have to do something about building massive housing and things, even if you call it temporary housing. How are we going to do it when we already needed 5,000 and 8,000 houses, and now we need another 3,000, 4,000, 5,000? And where are we going to find the people to make that happen? And how are we going to get it so that it honors everyone and does things in a smart way? And where do we have enough money to do it? It's a big maze. And with the world creating new crises every day that require so much help and money, We might think that we have everyone's attention and we can keep taking money and getting money to help what's going on here, but we know there are problems everywhere, so we better find a different way to get at it. And again, that's for another show. You know, I've been talking about this for years. It's a little bit disconcerting when people that I know for 30 years don't even know that I have a television show because I've been on public access, and they don't even know. They've never seen a show. And I invite them to be on the show, and they say, "What show?" And so that hasn't really been too satisfying. But it's going to take every one of you that hears this show and hears shows like it to share about it. Go to MauiNeutralZone.com. Look around. You're going to see hundreds and hundreds of shows with people that you know. People, if you live on Maui, you'll see you can put names in the search engine. You can put ideas in the search engine there, and you will see we have hundreds and hundreds of shows over the last 20 and 30 years. And we're inviting other contributors with video over those years to be putting their videos in here, because the Maui Arts and Music Association, through MAMA, Maui Arts and Music, has this website. And this website, which crosses over with Maui Neutral Zone, has many videos over the last 3 decades. And so you can look and see the harmonic convergence up on the internet. You can see our friend Jor-El at the harmonic convergence at the microphone. And you can see others that we know. You can see him now and say, is that Blaze? Is that Mary? Yep, there they are. It's been a lot of years and a lot of stories, and there's a richness that has happened in this Maui community. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to sort of wind down. I didn't sleep terribly well last night. A lot of things are going on, you know. I'm not going to get into too much of it personally, but it's been a fairly intense time. And I haven't been able to sleep well, at least last night and the night before. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned that more people need to wake up quicker. You know, some people say to me, well, you can't be worried about the way people think. People have the right to be the way they are. Yeah, it is, but, you know, when you think like a round hole and you see the world as a square hole, a square peg, you wonder, all these years I really thought, and I still have that hope, that the world will accelerate its learning. But yet that line about history repeats itself seems to keep coming true. I don't like it. I don't like it. I keep bringing up things that I think are going to make this world catch on, about self-sustainability here, about ways to do things without even increasing the numbers of people. We could do things in a different way. It's like the systems and the things that be are so entrenched in the way that they are that they don't stand back. You know that one? You can't see the forest from the trees because you're so close. You're so close to the problem. You can't really see. You're standing so close to the billboard, you can't see when you back up that what that is. You could not see it because you're just so involved. And, you know, I still think it's funny that we fight about, is climate change real? You know, it's just beyond my understanding why we fight about things like this and why we don't just say, okay, what are we going to do to help and make it better for everyone? We have the resources. Those that have so much money that put it away for their families and for God knows what, they have these huge amounts of money, and they seem to perpetuate lack of change, lack of sharing with the masses of people. See, it sounds like I'm socialist It's very social, I think. I like to think of it as someone who really believes that those that have a great deal have a responsibility to find ways to give it and use it, because there's only so much abundance. Maybe that's just my judgment. There's just so much abundance that one can have. How many cars do you need? You know, when Jay Leno has, 480 cars or 27 cars, or this one has 93 cars, and this one and they're so proud of their collections. That's lovely. But it would be nice if people that had that kind of money would also put their money into other programs that can create lots of things that don't just have to be spending. They can create systems that create more jobs. And we have to talk about it in a yes way, not in a way of why not, but in a way of why and how we can, instead of looking at why things can't happen. Let's take a look at things and see how they may happen and how we can make them happen. Well, thank you for listening to my show here, and my best and most high honors to Dr. Ed Jorel ELKIN, 1936 to 2023. And thank you for all of you audience watching the Neutral Zone. Today was a little unusual. MauiNeutralZone.com, MauiArtsAndMusic.org. You can look on YouTube and you'll see tons of this stuff. Just know that we love you, and we're going to get to the end of the show here and sign off. And can you imagine it's all that quick that it's over? Amazing. Thank you for joining us, everyone. It's been a pleasure having you. We'll see you next week. We have a really interesting guest. Aloha, everyone.